Hi, Jen Gilchrist here, and I'm going to be doing a Twin Flame Soulmate check-in. It'll be looking at the biggest block in the connection right now. I'm going to be looking at, there's a quick spread for the Divine Feminine and the Divine Masculine. We'll be looking at what's the biggest block, what is the advice, what's the likely action and the likely outcome based on if the advice is followed, and it gives us just a little bit of a snapshot and a picture and just an understanding of what to do, because I know this process can sometimes be patience is definitely one of the key words, surrender and patience for sure. So say hello if you're new, say hello if you're returning. Thank you so much. Press subscribe if you resonate with me. I am just starting to build this channel, and I appreciate connecting more further with you. And I love to see your comments as well. Love to hear what's going on for you. I have other playlists that share a little bit more on, I coach people on their spiritual awakenings and really aligning with their unique gift and purpose work in the world, which is a lot in part of what a lot of the Divine Feminines are being called to do right now. So you want to check the links below to follow me on Facebook for more twin flame readings, as well as the purpose work that I do offer as well. And I have a wait list that I'm looking at creating a inexpensive membership Divine Feminine Collective. If you're interested in that, there's no obligation. You can just hit the waitlist link and it will put you on, so you'll get notified of the best price and of the situation that I'm offering. And I'd love your feedback as well in terms of what would be in there. I'm looking at extended readings and clearings for you, and also some support in your purpose work, in your gifts, and really becoming the truth of who you are and your divine expression, which is really a large part of this twin flame journey that I know a lot of you are just guided to do. So I'm going to dive right in here and look at first, you have the Divine Feminine on top. So let me look at what we have here. So the Ace of Wands and Ten of Swords. So when I looked at what is the biggest block, it's just kind of just showing also, I feel like the circumstance, like a snapshot of what's happening right now. You got the Ace of Wands with the Ten of Swords. So some of you are pretty disappointed. There's this energy of like you really wanted this new beginning, this passionate new beginning. Maybe many of you thought it was coming. Maybe you saw readings or did readings on yourself and you thought, okay, it's coming, it's coming. Or perhaps the communication did start but never really got off the ground before it cycled back into another stagnant space where you felt I kind of has that left out in the cold feeling, but more of a disappointment, more of a letdown, because you really were excited and in anticipation of this passionate new beginning, and then it just kind of ended up in the same cycle that didn't lead anywhere. And so that is the current block, is that you're kind of still in this Ten of Swords energy of either not getting this passionate new beginning that you're hopeful for, or having it kind of start out and then not turn out the way you wanted it. And so it's about really getting out of this Ten of Swords energy. When I look at the advice, so from Spirit's advice, I'm just going to cross the feminine, and then I'll do the masculine, and then I'll kind of look at the connective energy. So when I look at like Spirit's advice for the Divine Feminine in terms of getting out of that Ten of Swords energy, part of it, like the next step for you, the Wheel of Fortune came up, and then I clarified that with the Prince of Pentacles, which is like the Knight of Pentacles. And so essentially it's like divine timing is at work here. And so it's about just surrendering. I know it's like the message that is probably so frustrating because it's like a big message that's always there, but it is about just trusting in this divine timing, deepening in surrendering into that, releasing the need to control, trust the divine timing is happening, and allow the Knight of Pentacles, which is, I do get a slow moving energy. There's a lot of pentacles in this reading, but allow him to come back towards you. Allow the Divine Masculine to come back towards you, and just trust that divine timing's at work and destiny is fated, right? There's a lot of destiny and spiritual support surrounding this connection for the higher good of all, really. And so your best bet is to try to do the best you can to get out of that Ten of Swords energy by surrendering and then doing whatever inner work, like filling up your own cup. There's more that we'll go into here. So the next part was, you know, what action should you be taking? And it's about letting go of that worry, right? It's letting go of the worry. It's almost like the Divine Feminine had a bit of a tower moment. Maybe their hopes got up. Seemed like it was going to maybe be going in a direction, or again, perhaps you've been watching some readings and you just thought it would happen. You have to remember that, you know, time is not linear. Everyone's in different timelines, and readings are on different timelines for everyone. And so just allow that tower moment to happen, release that worry, because you are going to get a new start and a foundation. But really what I'm getting is that it's time for the divine feminine to continue focusing on her own foundation, right? In the physical world. Like as you begin to take the attention off of the situation, which is the true surrendering aspect, and just get yourself out of your worry, take care. It's like self-care, nurture, do things that fill up your love cup, do things that make you happy. I feel this is actually about a lot of you stepping more into your purpose work, which is the reflection of what the divine feminine is working on. It's not only the divine masculine. We both have our parts in terms of why the connection isn't yet coming together. In a lot of ways, but in terms of the transformation and the healing, the divine feminine's a bit ahead and a little more aware of the connection and the circumstance, which can make it difficult to surrender into the patience. But we still have work to do too if it's not manifested yet. And so for many, it's about getting your own finances in order, getting your own purpose work in order, so that you are on track for your highest path in your destiny, right? There's more to it than just the romantic aspect of this particular the people that I'm reading for in terms of the twin flame or high level soulmate relationship. There's a higher purpose. It's about embodying love, and it has to start with you first. And it's about being, bringing your gifts and your purpose work out in the world. And so this is just a time that you can spend working on that for yourself, right? And it'll also take your mind off of things as well. Now, this is sort of the outcome that came out. Okay, so the outcome that came out, like the likely outcome, I said near future. In my mind, again, time is always just what it is. Everyone's a little bit different. But in my mind, I'm thinking, okay, well, what's like near future, meaning in the next month or so, like what to expect? Because I think when you start getting too far ahead, sometimes that can be disappointing, and there's too many variables, too much free will of choice, too much things can happen. Energy is always malleable and changing. And so I looked at like near future, thinking approximately a month was my intention. And I got the Prince of Pentacles and the Eight of Pentacles. And so I did do a clarification on the Prince of Pentacles since this was the outcome. But first, what I got for the Divine Feminine is like, yeah, it's time for you to continue working on that solid foundation. It's time to get out of your headspace, out of the worry, out of the concern, surrender that divine timing, and start working on your own foundation. It's really for the Divine Feminine. A big part of this, of course, is healing our own selves and opening our heart. But I think a lot of the lessons that have been coming up lately, it's about patience and surrender, the need to control, and then building a solid foundation and a stable foundation. And part of it is also breaking these codependent patterns and habits. And so the more solid that you feel in your life, and the more solid you feel within yourself and in all aspects of your life, the more you can go into the union, into the relationship from a full cup, right? And that's what's required. And it feels like emotional fulfillment. It feels like you're to follow your passion and your purpose work. This is something that I love supporting people with, is helping people really get clear about their unique gifts, their unique message, and how to package it in a way that they can create a valuable business that's in alignment with their higher destiny and calling, right? And that will make you feel, that will be, first of all, very attractive, but that is exactly the energy you need to be in order to be doing, kind of your part of this union, besides, of course, having your heart open, doing the healing work and unconditional love and all those other things. Now, because this is outcome and the Prince of Pentacles or Prince of Cups showed up, I did also clarify another direction to see if that was him showing up. And what I got is that he's still kind of coming out of this double energy, but the Ace of Cups is on its way. So the double energy kind of came up as a clarification. And I went further with saying, okay, he's basically still going through his awakening. He's still wrestling with, what does he want to do? What does he want to, is he willing to give this up or that up? Like, he's still sort of not fully complete with the letting go process and embracing this new. So I feel like he's still working on letting go of some things, and kind of hasn't fully had a spirit. For some people, he may have had a spiritual awakening, but it hasn't processed all the way through. And for some people, he hasn't had that yet. But an Ace of Cups is still coming, because eventually he really does want that emotional fulfillment. So moving into the masculine, and for the women, for the Divine Feminine, I should say, Six of Swords was the overall energy. And so that really tells me it's time to just sort of like put your head and your focus on your own things, get your foundation laid out, get more strategy going. If you know you've been guided to do more healing work, or create a YouTube channel or, do more speaking or whatever that is. Start making the strategic plan for how you are sharing your gifts in the world. And that feels like, and if it's not sharing your gifts in the world, it's whatever, create a plan for your life, right? To get you in alignment with your highest happiness and do that inner work for yourself. Building that solid foundation for yourself is what you need to be working on. But I feel most of you that are listening to this realize that you do have a divine life purpose, and either you're in it and it's time to up level or shift directions, or it's time to begin to take more action in expanding that and laying that foundation. Okay. The divine masculine. So his current biggest block, and really kind of explaining a snapshot of what is going on for him, is the Two of Swords. So he's indecisive. He's not making a decision. He's just staying stagnant. He's just kind of staying at a stalemate in terms of this connection. So I clarified that, and I got two kind of reads on this, but the Knight of Wands and the King of Pentacles came up. So for some of you, I feel like part of this is, whether it's been discussed or not, maybe you've expressed your feelings and maybe you haven't. But intuitively, I feel like he feels like he's torn between, like, well, do I want to stay in this Knight of, I really want to be in this Knight of Wands. Like, do I want to stay in this Knight of, okay, there's three messages now. Okay. One of them is he's stuck between, I really want this passion. I really want to move towards her passionately. But so it's almost like being in this Knight of Wands energy. I'm sorry, the messages is funny. All of a sudden, it's like I had it super clear and then it's lost. So this Two of Swords, stalemate energy. These two came up. He's torn between, for some of you, he's torn between offering you this stable foundation or staying in this Knight of Wands energy and just kind of being more, playful. It's like he realizes he can't do that on an intuitive level. I feel like for many of you, even whether you're expressing this or not, he feels that you're wanting more from him than what he's offering or what he's willing to offer. And so he's kind of in this stalemate because he wants to move towards you, but he kind of almost feels like he knows you want a more stable offering and he's not really sure what to do, right? So there's that for some of you, the stalemate. The others of you, some of them, he just wants to be in his light of, in the King of Wands. He wants to go out, do what he wants, be with whatever women and work on he's still kind of a little bit further behind that other one, and is still kind of focusing more on his own money foundation, his own work, his own money, and just going out and having fun, right? And being free and being single, basically. And so he's stalemating on you because he kind of senses that that's either not going to work or that you want more than that. So it's kind of both. That's kind of the earlier stage people. The second stage people is that he's debating on if he wants to come forward with a little bit more stable offer because he does feel very passionate towards you. So you have to just take it where it is in terms of where you are in your connection. The next part was, the action, like what's the advice? Like what Spirit's advice, kind of whispering, like what is his higher self trying to guide him to do? And it's really to step into that Emperor energy, to be more stable, to step up into his power, to start to really kind of step into that more stable energy. However, he's not choosing to do that yet. So the divine judgment card came in and is going to help him along, right? Judgment is coming in, meaning that his angels, his higher selves are working with him. There's divine order happening. He is starting to contemplate this, at least. He is in a contemplative. It's not like he's not, because there is attraction and desire, and I think an attraction for you that some of them maybe don't even understand why it's just so intense and getting more intense. But he's not fully in his Emperor energy. So the judgment's going to come in and the angels are kind of helping him out with and I feel like a lot in his dreams. And it's almost like a little bit of a wake up physically. Yes, a wake up is happening because a wake up is happening, and slowly but surely, even though you may not see it on the outside, he is working. So there is like again, the Eight of Pentacle energy of like he is working on his solid foundation, even though maybe it's not outwardly showing. And that's actually what's coming. So for some of you, he may not have got to that point yet. And for some of you, where he's actually contemplating what he wants to offer you about stepping up the commitment, he is kind of a little bit more into doing what he needs to do on his end internally to be in that space to provide that, or to even be able to stand in that offer. It's like they're not really in the space of being able to stand behind that offer, so they're not going to make it quite yet. The next card that comes in around, like, so what's coming in after that is the devil. So the devil card comes. That's why I say after this whispering in the ear, what is this actually? This is the kind of the action, like what's going on. So he is sort of in this devil energy, still kind of torn between two worlds. Some of them might have, you know, women, addictions, even just being overly focused on work, like whatever's going on. But this usually means that there's, I felt like mostly there's like an awakening happening, but it hasn't happened yet because he's not quite unshackled, but he's working on it due to these angels kind of coming in and blowing their divine influence a bit on the situation. And then he gets to rebirth, like once this double kind of rebirth happens. I know it's the devil card, but I'm seeing it as wanting to really move through this stuff. I see it kind of almost as like the death card is kind of how it was coming through, because the Knight of Pentacles is on the other side of it. It's like he can't really come forward until he moves through this, but he's wanting to move through this. The spiritual support is helping him kind of begin to move through this, and for some it might be kind of a slow process because the Knight of Pentacles is slow, and there's like pentacles all throughout his entire thing. And yours. So everybody's kind of being told to work on their own stuff. Everybody's kind of separated on purpose because there's more work to be done. You know, he's not in a space to even, for a lot of you, even really ready to want to offer more. And then for some of you, he may want to, but he's not able to stand in it. And so this divine intervention's coming in, and ultimately he does want to come forward with a small, you know, Knight of Pentacles, which is a small offer. Which is interesting too, because mirroring in the divine feminine, she got, for her advice card was the Wheel of Fortune, to allow divine timing to happen and allow the Prince of Pentacles to come forward. So for a lot of you, I feel like this is kind of, you guys have never really gotten too far in your relationship yet. Like, this feels kind of newer for most of you. I mean, it may have been that you've known them for a while, but in terms of how far the connection has gotten off the ground, it still feels kind of newer, like, you know, hasn't had the opportunity yet to really grow yet. So then he's mirroring that in the likely action space, right? So he wants to get to this Knight of Pentacles too. That in his advice, the angels are coming in to support that, and then but he's still dealing with some of this, like, I feel like the Knight of Wands, like wanting to just have his cake and eat it too kind of energy, right? And I feel like for a lot of them, he's really just confused about this connection. He knows there's a draw. He knows he has a draw towards this, but there's a lot of fear around actually, first of all, like what it is and why. So there's a lot of like trying to suppress, like judging it, like, why am I still feeling this? What is going on? And confusion, really confusion about why he's not able to let this go. But it feels like what I'm hearing is like, you know, it's going to keep getting stronger and stronger and stronger. So if he hasn't figured this out already, it's soon coming for him to start to have this awareness of that there's something more here that maybe he should start to like open up to exploring in a sense. But there's definitely, it feels like a stubbornness. There's a stubbornness because for him, it's kind of almost like, what's going on? Like, why can't I just let this, why is this not just going away? Or why can't I just totally let this go? Why is this still in my mind or coming back around? And so there's, for some of them, this epiphanies are going to start happening. So in the likely outcome, first I just got the Page of Swords. And so the first thing I got on this was a lot of you, for some of you, it's just going to be watching from afar. It depends on how stubborn and how stuck and how early on this is and how far out he is from really, how far you guys have gone in your connection. If it's new, it feels like you might just kind of choose to watch from afar, maybe look at pictures. Even I'm kind of feeling the reminiscent energy, but also could be social media, could be other things for sure, to kind of just watch from afar, not ready to take any action. Because I feel like he knows if he comes forward, he's going to have to come forward with something a little bit more than he was, and more than he feels capable of doing right now, and more than he's even sure in some cases that he wants to do right now, even though his soul and his spirit does want to. He does want this Ace of Cups. It is, you know, the 5D and 3D is a little bit off still. And then I clarified too, and I got the 8 of Wands, because then I thought, well, it could be communication. You know, for some of you, it is going to be fast moving communication. For some of you, he is going to move forward and reach out with some passionate communication. I think the main thing for you is to make sure that to stay in your high frequency. I have some angel messages in terms of like just the overall connective energy from the romance cards. But what's coming through right now is that looking objectively at your guys' connection so far, looking objectively at how things have gone, how cycles keep repeating, what, when you do meet and when you do separate, are you doing the inner work for the things that are being reflected for you, right? It's amazing what kind of mirroring happens. It's always very deep and quick and clear for me. Then it's a matter of working that energy, right? And taking and not closing off the heart, but also not coming to meet him necessarily where he's at. It's important for the divine feminine, and it's tricky, right? Because you have a lot of natural, unconditional, eternal, spiritual, kindred, soul connective love there. So in some ways, things don't, I don't know, it's like in some ways it's easier to keep wanting to accommodate. So part of it, what I'm hearing is that it's not accommodating, but kind of, it's about staying in your power. It's about staying open with your heart into the connection, but also not coming down to meet him, like not lowering your standards, I guess is what I'm trying to get to. Not lowering your standards, making sure you're staying in the space of self-respect, that you're not feeling like you have to compromise yourself to come meet him in the connection, because that's what's keeping, I think, some of the dynamic for some of you is happening and still going for, is kind of what I'm seeing. But if you just kind of surrender, like truly surrender and have that trust that it's going to come back, and don't compromise or waver who you are, but not like sometimes you might have to come out into the Queen of Swords energy in terms of that, just saying the truth, solid how it is. But we want to have the heart open too. So how can you keep your heart open and not take it personal, and just to do the inner work? And then if he comes back in, then hold a higher standard. And if he can meet you there, great. And if he can't, then he can't yet. Then it's not time yet, right? So it's about how can you stay in your integrity? How can you stay in your self-respect? How can you stay in balance with yourself? Because it's real easy to get caught up in the emotion and the chemistry and the attraction and the love and just I think the intensity of the connection just, before you know it, you don't realize you've sort of compromised or not spoken as clearly as you can. And so, if the communication does come in, then how can you stay in your power? And I would also suggest taking that time to kind of evaluate, what has been going on? What is the role that we both start playing in this that ends up causing that dynamic, and do your own inner work around that, right? Because ultimately that is what this is here for in a lot of ways, is showing us where we need to more deeply heal and what you're being triggered on. I had an epiphany, and then when I was taking a shower today, I was like, of course, right, get into like a mindless space, and all of a sudden it's like, I had this aha about something that had happened that triggered me all the way back to my initial dynamic with my birth father, who I'd never met. And I was like, whoa, there's a mirroring there. I'm like, that's really good. And I can't think of it offhand, but yeah, it was kind of what I was talking about. It's funny. It's kind of like about me shrinking down and not being shrinking down to kind of fit towards their needs or something like that. There's a bigger, deeper thing. I don't want to go into my own story, but essentially we want to have those ahas. We want to look at the situation as objectively as we can. We want to step out of the Ten of Swords energy, step out of the worry, surrender, work on our own selves, and reflect in these times of separation. For those that are watching this in real time, this is timeless for sure. Whenever you hear it's perfect. But in real time, we're heading into a Mercury retrograde, which in my experience, oftentimes, there's not as much communication. And I don't even think as much telepathic communication that's normally happening. I feel like that is a time astrologically for us to go internally into our own selves. And so take that time to reflect and notice whatever he did or didn't do, how did that make you feel? This is where rubber meets the road. This is where you get to heal yourself. This is where you get to open up and actually draw the connection to you, right? This is where you get to have that great love. Again, whether it's the divine masculine or not, I feel that for the most part, this group is on the twin flames, or the higher level soulmate. There's kind of a destined soul agreement that they both want this to happen in the physical, and that's what is the highest path. However, bottom line is the more that you keep going and going and going, you're going to be met with with that great love on some level, right? Um, and so you have to just keep doing the work. That's all that you can really do. And it's important work. It's important work. Many of you are really being called to step up into sharing your message, sharing your gifts, and sharing your story with the world in a deeper way. So that is really the messages. Oh yeah, I have the angel or the romance angels. And so some of the romance angels cards that's going on for the connective. So for both kind of just the connective energy is it's safe for you to love, open your heart to give and receive highest energy of all. So both people are learning to open their heart. Like I feel like the divine masculine is just maybe from past things has been really hurt, and so he's not, you know, the divine feminine just triggers out like there's defensive energy and just a push pull because he's not, it's like that kind of intensity and him knowing he has to get into his emotions that much or will get into his emotions that much, just push away, can't even go there, not even going to go there kind of energy, right? It's because he still needs to heal his heart more. And same with the divine feminine. Every time you get rejected or not chosen or feel like, you know, he's picked some other women or he's just ignoring you or not treating, you know, not giving you the love that you feel you desire or deserve, that's time for you to go into your healing mode too, right? Because it's triggering this feeling of unworthiness or this abandonment or rejection wound that's there for many of us, right? Coming back to, again, way before him, which is why we're kind of mirroring and matching each other and forcing this deeper levels of healing. So we're both opening our hearts still and learning that it's safe to love. And the honeymoon card came out, enjoy the bliss of holiday time together. So this is where it's kind of like, I feel like heart-to-heart conversations are really wanting to happen, but there's a stalemate. Like there's just no communication on that end. So I feel like that's another thing where the disappointment has come in for the divine feminine is they're like, man, if we could just have like a heart-to-heart communication, because the deception card came out too. And I feel like there's a lot of, you know, ideally spending time together, if there's an opportunity to kind of spend some time would be great. Like ideally, this feels like would be very beneficial for the connection because heart-to-heart conversations need to happen because there's false masks. And I feel like deception, like both people need to come forward a little bit more authentically with their feelings. The divine feminine, in some cases, maybe being a little bit more standoffish or kind of in that swords, that Queen of Swords energy of just like, look, you know, kind of not having all of their cards on the table emotionally because they're protecting on some level. The divine masculine is certainly in a lot of cases not addressing or admitting that he's thinking of you or his emotions or intensity or desire, you know, to the degree that he actually has for you. And he may be even hiding for himself. Both of you could also be mirroring in terms of hiding to yourself, although I think the divine feminine is pretty clear. Divine masculine, I feel, is hiding himself. And I see the angel kind of whispering in his ear and kind of like showing him, like kind of poking at his heart a little bit, and kind of that's what the divine feminine does too, which is why they can only stay in connection for so long at this point in time until that gets healed a little further. But time together and heart-to-heart conversations would really help distill some of this. And I feel like that's the frustrating thing for many of you. You're just like, I just want to be able to like, man, some of this stuff is just not even, you know, needs a conversation. However, it's just not the time. The conversation's not happening because even if the conversation was had, well, it's not time for the conversation to be had, clearly, because it's not happening. Soon there will be, and when that time comes, enjoy the time together, open up your heart-to-heart conversation with authentic communication, take off the mask, be honest, because new love does await you both. Like at the end of the day, this new love is opportunity, this Ace of Cups opportunity is coming, but I'm feeling for different timelines, but for some of you, you know, it could be a while, 2 months, 6 months, like it could be a while. And maybe for some of you, even a year, but I feel like, I mean, I hate timelines. I really try not to say them, but I'm feeling like, I'm not saying that all communication won't be halted till then, but it might take a while for this to happen. So really just keep on doing you, surrendering, allowing divine timing. And when the time comes, be as in your power and open-hearted, but also assertive in speaking your truth. You can be assertive and loving at the same time in terms of your communication. And that happens when you're speaking from your authentic heart and not from your wounds, right? And so that's why in this reflective time, it's super, super powerful to take advantage of what is going on, what was reflected to you, what was mirroring. And that is a lot about what I want to share in the membership is just doing a lot more of that deeper work. And it's a lot of how I support people in my work as well, is to move through their own self-sabotaging patterns and really open up to more divine love. So you can look below if you want to follow. I have lots of free content, especially on Facebook, a free group, as well as inexpensive paid offers, as well as 6-month coaching programs. So I'd love to support you if any of that feels good. If this resonated, I'd love to hear it below in the comments. Subscribe, like, share this with your friends. I'm just kind of new to starting the twin flame. I mean, I know I was going to do twin flame journey myself, where I think I met my catalyst partner. It's been like 8 years. It's been a long time. And then I forgot about it, worked on my purpose work as we're supposed to do as divine feminine. And now it's back prevalent for me, and I feel really guided to help support those of you, because this is sort of, it's a different kind of journey that not everyone will understand. And so I feel like that membership site, which has a wait list below if you'd like to check it out, will be really powerful to be in a collective community of women who can be supportive and understanding, and not in the victim role, but in the empowered role of really working through this inner stuff together, so that you can activate that heart, really align and use your 5D, manifestation powers for sure. But, and the bottom line is, you can't escape the healing. You can't sidebar the work. You can't cheat the system. It's a perfect system. You can't cheat the system. You got to do the inner work. You got to keep evolving. You got to keep growing. You got to keep your heart open, and then it'll magnetize to you. And that's really the way it goes. And it's not just about the relationship. It's about embodying unconditional love for yourself. And then, yes, together you complete that yin yang, that oneness, that you're the micro of the macro in the physical, which is extremely powerful healing for the planet, right? And for those around you. So, there's a bigger picture here. Trust that divine timing is at work. And if it hasn't happened yet, that means we still have work to do as well. And just to keep focusing on it might be different work than divine masculine, but we do have our purpose work and our foundations to be continuing to build as well. So I hope this served you. I look forward to talking with you again soon. Bye-bye.